Good afternoon, everybody. It is February 21st at 11:32 a.m. This is a workshop, and I apologize for those who will watch this later, listen to it later. Our internet is down, so we're not able to do this live, and we're also... What?
Your microphone's on.
We're not able to do this live, and we're limited on how we can preserve it, so it may just be an audio. I don't know if we're even going to have a video. Anyway, I'll call the workshop to order. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and Commissioner Hollinger is at County College right now, so he is joining us by phone. And first up on the agenda is discussion. Patrick, do you want to start, or would you? Tabitha's here also. Would you like her to start? Where would you like to begin?
Yeah, I can kickstart this, and you'll have to forgive me right at the moment. I don't have my notes in front of me, so I cannot remember the acronym of the grant that Tabitha and the Forest Collaborative is working on, so she can fill that in. But it was earlier this week. The Forest Collaborative, Wild Rivers Forest Collaborative, invited myself and our emergency management director, Jeff Hughes, to attend their meeting where they are seeking a grant for up to $10 million to address wildfire mitigation, stewardship of non-federal lands, and during that presentation, a lot of what they brought up aligns with what we would be looking to do as a county as well, with implementing a stewardship program. So as part of their grant submittal, they had laid out a stewardship plan, and they'd also laid out a large budget as well, for not only for personnel, but for equipment and other services that would be needed to fulfill their stewardship plan for that grant. And anyways, I really liked it. So the Wild Rivers Forest Collaborative will be the fiscal sponsor of the grant. So they'll take in the money, and then they will allocate that funding as for what they put in the grant. So after that meeting, or actually it was the next morning, Tabitha and I had a phone call and discussed that further. And they were very helpful in wanting to include Curry County in any way possible to be a part of this grant and be able to acquire some funding through it as well. And Jeff Hughes gave some numbers in regards to getting new radio towers for the area. And then Tabitha and I also talked about, if the county is to create a stewardship program or a department within the county, we would need a natural resources, coordinator. And so we talked about also putting in some funding into their grant for that position for the county as well, which I think would be wonderful, because if we get this going and get this implemented, we will very much need to have a professional who is well versed in natural resources and collaboration with several of the federal and state agencies and groups that are all needed to be involved in pushing this forward. So I am very thankful, actually, for this opportunity that she's been working on for a long time, and just sitting in on the presentation that she had with several others as part of the collaborative, showing how much work that they've put into this grant was impressive. And I would say they definitely have a much deeper knowledge than than I certainly do with any of this. And I'm definitely not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but they can be a good partner with the county to help us move forward with our endeavors as well. So, and if Tabitha wants to chime in on any of this too, I can turn it over to her.
Yep, I'm pretty sure she does. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Is this on? Hi, Patrick, and thanks, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, we put in a lot of work. I do want to clarify a couple of things. It's the Wild Rivers Coast Forest Collaborative. So we have that name to try to tie in with the travel and tourism industry as the Wild Rivers Coast. So I'll just clarify that. Our fiscal sponsor is the Southern Oregon Forest Restoration Collaborative, who would ultimately be the fiscal sponsor of this grant as well. The grant opportunity is the Community Wildfire Defense Grant, and that is administered by USDA. You are correct, it is for private and state lands only, non-federal public land. So yeah, the focus is obviously non-federal lands. However, the system is intended to support collaboration in the future. I definitely am interested in discussing the position potentially at the county and natural resources, just in terms of collaboration. Our budget is sitting right around $6 million as it stands now to address 12 key recommendations from the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. One thing that I think is very pertinent to address today is the adoption of that plan formally by the county, which was not done in, as far as I can tell, was never formally signed. So that is a very important piece that we need to address before applying to this grant. And I'll stop there for now. I'm happy to dive into more details, but I will mention that I did go to the CFPA Chiefs meeting on Wednesday night and mention this opportunity to them, because a huge portion of this grant proposal is offense, not just wildfire suppression when it's active, but how to reduce our risk in the off season. And a huge issue for a lot of agencies that employ people that are willing and able to do fuels reduction work. They're unable to pay them in the off season. More than 6 months, it requires health care and benefits. So a lot of this proposal is subsidizing staff to be able to be on full time. And yeah, I'm gathering kind of a wish list from the rural volunteer fire departments and engaging with them. The last thing I'll say is the grant opportunity window has been extended to March 14th. So we're rapidly gathering letters of support from anyone and any organization that wants to support this initiative.
Okay. Questions, comments? I did sign that. I don't know if we have to, what we have to do with it next. We already approved it,
Okay.
so I think you need to sign it still.
Yeah, if you have a signed copy, I would just love to include
But,
that with the grant.
yeah. Okay, Patrick, comments?
Yeah. So like I spoke with Tabitha earlier this week, I have a phone call with the U.S. Forest Service regional director for the Pacific Northwest on Monday morning, and then at 2:00 Monday afternoon, I'm going to meet with Tabitha and Molly. I'm going to mess this up, but
Julie Rat.
Yeah, and she would be a local regional supervisor for the Forest Service.
She is the forest supervisor for the Rogue River Siskiyou, and that has yet to be
Yes.
confirmed,
Yes.
but she will be in town.
Yeah. So it'd be great to have an opportunity to meet her, Monday afternoon and just, start developing that relationship. But, one thing I want to, try to, express and then get a feel of too is, how can we, as a county, help grow and accelerate a stewardship program for our public use lands. And like one of the main goals of the grant is to help reduce fuel loads and ladder fuels and so how can we work with the Forest Service and then our collaboratives to help bring private industry into the mix as well to help accelerate forest restoration and mitigate wildfire fuels. So that's and after that I'm hoping to set up a near future workshop as well where we can have the Forest Service, Wild Rivers Coast Forest Collaborative, hopefully I didn't botch
Got it.
that, and other partners as well to start formulating our collaborative team, so that we can create this stewardship plan and get it implemented.
So, I will comment on that. Some of the things that I learned.
Yeah.
One thing that I learned when I was up in Salem from the legislative side of AOC, in particular with our well, you're there. You can talk to Brandon. He's the natural resources specialist. He works with Mallory in the legislative side, but so he pointed out that the one way that what could be essentially the simplest way to have a seat at the table is if a county forms a natural resources advisory committee, they have to be recognized, they shall be recognized by the state and federal agencies on any matters regarding natural resource management. So that could be a very, and it's the size of the advisory group, it's all in ORS. I don't know if it's 5 or 7, but regardless, it sounds like if we adopt that committee, appoint that committee, the agencies have to recognize us, which could also be an incredible connection to some of these other collaboratives. Like if certain members of the collaboratives are on the advisory committee, then now we have default liaisons who then also help represent when it comes to resource management discussions. So that was an important conversation, I think, to have. So when you're up there now, when you get a chance, pull Brandon aside, ask him to get you that information. He sent it all with me, but then you can see it while you're up there, and he's really good at explaining it. Okay. So something to look into. So anyways, that may just, if nothing else, I think it strengthens our position in terms of having really knowledgeable people on a committee that advises the Board of Commissioners on natural resource matters, right? So
I agree with that.
yeah. So I think that's something that's a low-hanging fruit. That's something we can do immediately. That's something we don't have to wait around for, and would be beneficial. So, anyways.
That might even be something that's beneficial for us to create even before the grant submittal. Would that be beneficial for you, Tabitha, to include as part of the grant process?
I am not sure that's in the scope of the recommendations.
Yeah.
this grant particularly, but I don't
Okay.
know if these are paid positions, if you guys would be appointing these people.
Yes.
Okay.
So we would be appointing, they would be an advisory committee, it would not be paid. And we would have to set, the meeting schedules and things of that nature. But I think nonetheless, having a natural resource advisory committee just seems to make sense in an area where we have a strong natural resource center, So, yeah. And by the way, even if we were to form the committee, we wouldn't have time to appoint, because we'd have to take applications for those who want to be appointed.
We're only looking at like 2 more weeks or something.
Yeah,
like that
so
for
it-
the submittal, so.
It'd be really hard.
Yeah.
It's something that I can include in the narrative as something that is happening as kind of a matching
Sure.
effort that would be supportive of this. I will just say that the federal agencies are required to engage with you guys already, so, but having point people for that would be excellent. 'Cause in the
Yeah.
past It has fallen on, maybe just not an individual person. I will also just mention that right now, the Rogue River Siskiyou does not have an environmental coordinator for the west side of the forest. That position was laid off recently, as well as a partnerships coordinator, which are really critical positions to be able to do any kind of stewardship planning, so.
Okay.
What's the timeline again?
The timeline for this grant, it was originally due next Friday, it is now due March 14th.
14th.
Because they have changed some of the requirements due to recent executive orders.
Okay,
So I'm still sifting through some of those changes.
okay.
Jeff?
If you'd like me to,
Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, probably for our end, I don't know if you want to step up the mic.
Yeah, please.
Just grab a seat at the table.
So specifically from our end, I see no reason whatsoever that I can't support this grant, because it's gonna clearly take care of some of the stuff that's named off in our wildfire plan. As far as what we would be looking at county-wise, just from my standpoint, from emergency management, obviously we're looking for means of improving the infrastructure for our firefighting abilities here in the county. It's something that Ms. Reed brought up with the chief's meeting last night. They were all pretty supportive of that also. Communications is always a big one. We're obviously looking to try to replace our rather antiquated and expensive radio system. If that's something that can be written into it, I can push to try to get hard numbers either through a study, if that was something that would go along with it. If not, I've got other avenues I'm looking at right now. That's been, I have another week before I can meet with the state on that one, that particular grant we're looking at. Other than that, unless you guys have specific questions for me from my office, I would recommend supporting it based on the fact that it will take care of some of the stuff like I mentioned in our wildfire plan, and also hopefully improve the ability to train, employ, and equip our local fire departments.
I'm all for supporting it.
Yep, me too.
And if Patrick's already signed, you can probably get out of here today with a signed copy if I'm the only one that hasn't signed yet.
okay, that'd be great. And then I'd love a copy of the county wildfire plan.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think I've signed any of that yet, but I can
Okay.
later.
Well, if you haven't, then, we'll figure it out, but, okay. Well, thank you.
Any other questions for me, or?
Nope,
No?
Okay, and the rest of it I can probably chat with Ms. Rude about afterwards, so.
Yeah.
Talk about it here as well.
yep.
No, I think that's fine. I think we just talked about a feasibility study being the most realistic expense that we could include in this time frame, unless there are specific pieces of equipment that we know we need right now. But sounds like we
So,
need a more holistic approach.
Yes. So, in terms of equipment, I was, so I learned a lot these last 2 days. So they have mobile biochar units.
That's included in the.
Oh, okay. I forget what the name of them are, but they have an air curtain and the whole nine to reduce smoke. It's pretty amazing, from what I understand.
From chippers as well, put into the budget
Yeah.
for their grant submittal as well.
We put in 3 chippers that would be owned and maintained by CFPA and be able to rotate around the county for landowner fuels reduction. The biochar is really interesting. The Road River Siskiyou actually contracted a feasibility study on air curtain burners and the various biochar. That study is supposed to be coming out in the next two weeks. And I will absolutely send that to you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's economically, biochar still requires water sources, it still requires a lot of inputs. And so, again, with limited staffing and ability to move that around, they actually become quite cost prohibitive.
So maybe
but-
some of the people who were talking up there got a sneak peek at the studies, and because they were excited
Yeah.
about these mobile.
And it's still a better alternative than pile burning because there's, you know, a lot of issues with smoke and
Yeah.
obviously piles, you know, sit for a long time and, yeah. So I'm all about it. But for this, we were actually entertaining just workshops on biochar in several different locations and some small units that we could implement.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's all I have. Anything else? Patrick, anything else?
No, just, you know, I appreciate seeing the ball moving in the right direction.
All right, then it is 11:54, and we will conclude the workshop. Thanks, everybody.